Hello and welcome to Odds Serie A Match Day 3. We have 4 teams with 6 points. The big surprise is Hellas Verona, and we have Daniele Fisichella to analyze with us this match day before the international break. Hello, Danny. How are you?
Ciao Edu, the last time Verona won the first 2 games in the league, they won the title. The only title they won in 1985. So who knows, maybe there is a surprise in the card. But yeah, definitely a very good surprise for them when they beat Roma 2-1. Milan 6 points, Napoli 6 points, Inter 6 points. So yeah, the race is on.
And we have a couple of good games this weekend. For instance, Roma, Milan, or Napoli, Lazio. So let's dive into this new match day. Remember, guys, as always, comment the video with us, press the like and subscribe. And now let's go on with the show. And also remember that we have a special partnership with 1xBet. So if you want to place your bets, for instance, in Serie A, we have a special welcome bonus up to 130%. Just type this bonus code or click on the link and you can get this really good offer. Danny, let's start with the 2 games we have on Friday. 2 good ones, because we have one of the leaders, as you mentioned at the beginning, Verona, this time going to Sassuolo, and we have, it's strange this game, because we have Sassuolo, bottom of the table, 0 goals scored, 0 points, and we have Verona in Champions League spots with 6 points, but obviously the favorite is the home team.
Yes, it is the favorite. It's probably based on the pedigree and their previous history, but the beginning of the season for Sassuolo has been highly disappointed. They really struggle to create chances, and they do struggle because they are without Domenico Berardi, who's been left out of the squad because of disciplinary issue linked to a potential move to Juventus. It's very unlikely he's going to go to Juve, so probably we're going to see him back in the starting 11 after the international break. But Sassuolo, so far in Italy, had the lowest expected goals, 0.53 in 2 games. They really couldn't lay a glove on Napoli, also because they were with 10 men for large spells of the game. Maxim Lopez was having a good game, said something to the referee, was shown a straight red, and from then on, the game was gone. Look, for Sassuolo, this is a chance now to play against a team of their level, or perhaps a little bit better, or a little bit worse, sorry, because the first game was against Atalanta. But when it comes to Verona, counter-attacking team, we knew that, same as last season. They seem to become a little bit harder to beat, a little bit stronger physically, but let's not forget, they have been lucky, okay? Against Roma, against Empoli. Roma hit the bar twice. They only had 2 shots on target and scored with 2 shots. Empoli hit the bar once. They score in the second half because of a mistake from the goalkeeper, Caprile. Last season, they only won 1 game away, scoring 11 goals. Okay, this season they've added the quality of Saponara, there's still Juric, there's still Gonge up front, but let's see, they might return to the mean, and they might return to their old form. I think this is not going to be spectacular. Maybe Verona might not score here. I'm going to go for under 2.75 goals here, 181. I think it's interesting because if it turns out to be a goal game, so 3 goals only, you only lose half a stake. But considering the current form of these two, I can't imagine there are going to be too many goals.
The odds are good, actually, for going for an under. And also on Friday, remember that actually the day before, on Thursday, we have the deadline day for the transfer market. So it's going to be very important to take an eye, of course, about everything that is going to happen in the Calcio Mercato. And as I said, on Friday, we also have Roma, Milan. These games, by the way, Danny, Roma, Milan, sorry, but I was taking a look at the schedule, and Roma had a very bad start, obviously, only with 1 point, very leaky. You mentioned that they conceded 2 goals in only 2 shots against Verona, but they were conceding a lot of counter attacks, and I'm surprised to see Roma slightly favorites, especially because they are showing a poor form, and Also because Milan, they are looking good. Beating Torino 4-1, beating Bologna 2-0. Why shouldn't we trust Milan here?
Yes, that's a good question. This is the first big clash in Serie A of the season against Milan, who finished fifth, and Roma, who finished sixth last season. So let's see really what they are made of. Of course, Milan have been impressive so far because of the new signings, especially Pulisic and Loftus-Cheek, are already making the difference. And I think you can tell when a player has played 3 or 4 seasons in the Premier League and then he comes to Serie A. It happened the same to Lukaku when he came from Manchester United to Serie A. You can tell they are of a different level. They are used to a different style of football, a different rhythm. And if they are technically gifted as Pulisic and Loftus-Cheek, it's easy for them to leave a mark straight away. Pulisic has been impressive on the ball, his movements, his run. Loftus-Cheek is very imposing physically, so I think he could have a really, really good season if he stays fit. And also, both of them can play in different positions on the pitch, which gives Milan more flexibility. Reinders has been a good addition. And I think, we can tell they only played Bologna and Torino, so obviously teams that they were supposed to beat anyway, but they're becoming more attacking and they got more options and more depth. I like Milan when, for example, they push the fullback inside a lot, especially Teo Hernandez, giving space for Leao and Pulisic or Loftus-Cheek to attack the wings. Giroud, 3 goals, okay, 2 goals against the Torino, 2 penalties were very, 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 very generous, especially the first one. But Milan were worthy winners. And now they travel to Roma, where the confidence is back up, because yesterday Lukaku landed, waited and greeted by 4,000 people at the Ciampino airport. Is a big coup for Roma. No doubt about it. They got him cheap. They got him on loan. They got the striker with experience and goal-scoring pedigree that they needed. They got the champion that Mourinho wanted. And if Lukaku is fit, in Italy, is still a decisive factor. So it is a really, really big coup for them. And yes, but the reality is they only got 1 point on the table because they lacked concentration and they switched off in some key moments of the games. At the beginning against Verona, some of the defending is not great. The counter-attack they suffer for the second goal is not great. Smalling is not having a great start of the season. He gets undone very easily by other players dummy or dropping the shoulders. Rui Patricios made another mistakes. But if you look at the numbers, they only conceded 4 goals with 5 shots on target. So basically every goal goes in. They haven't played too badly compared to last season. They hit the bar, the post 3 times. They are second for shots, third for possession, first for corners taken. So if you look at the overall brand of football, you can tell they play better. It takes time for the new signing, Aouar, Sanchez, if he's fit, Paredes to bed in. And now there is a big question mark. Is Dybala going to be fit? Because he came out of the game against Verona with a hamstring, touching his hamstring. There is no big muscular injury, but he might not start the game. Lukaku definitely not going to start, maybe going to be on the bench, but just more for a cameo. Look, Roma will have to react. They play at home. It's a big game here. I cannot see Milan not scoring, but I think this could be a both to score. It's going to be a game with a lot of shots on target. I think the line for shots on target over 7.5 is decent, 186. I'm going to go for both to score here, 198.
This is a great game for a Friday evening, indeed. This Roma-Milan. For Saturday, we start with Bologna. Cagliari, only 1 point for each side, but the Bologna's one was very surprising with taking away points from Juventus. Cagliari, we have to say that is one of the teams still without scoring, Danny, in Serie A, but it's not a bad start considering that they are coming from Serie B and they faced Inter.
Yes, I think against Inter, Ranieri chose the wrong formation. He went with a 4-3-3 at the beginning, almost trying to go and match Inter man for man up front. But the choice of putting Oristanio up front, who was only played the second game in Serie A, was wrong, and he went for the big guy up front, Pavoletti. Oristanio never tracked back Di Marco in the first half. Inter had loads of spaces on the wing backs, and they looked very comfortable. In the second half, then when Pavoletti was injured, the Luvumbu came on, shorter player, quicker, and I think he should start with him because that that was the player that put Inter backline, Darmian and De Vrij especially, are not the quickest, under pressure. In the second half, Cagliari kept it respectable, but Sommer only had one save to make, really. The win for Inter was never in doubt. Look, this is only the third defeat since Ranieri took in charge of the team in December, and obviously they were playing in Serie B. It is a side that got promoted in dramatic fashion with a lot of late goals in the playoff. At Torino, they play well, but I think now Ranieri, that has tasted again Serie A with his players, is going to revert to a more cautious approach. I will expect them to go with Luvumbo up front, maybe just one striker, a 4-4-2, 4-5-1, try to be compact and try basically to perform as a bit of a smash and grab. They're third from bottom from possession, and I don't think they're going to keep the ball a lot against Bologna, who, by the way, of all the teams I've seen so far this season, is the one that play the best brand of football. At the weekend, they were really good against Juventus. They should have had a penalty. That's the big polemic in Italy. When the game was still 1-0 up, there is a foul on Doye. I mean, it's a stonewall penalty, and the referee didn't even go to the VAR to see it. Bologna should have deserved to win. The problem with Bologna is that they don't have a finisher. They don't have a striker that it looks like he's going to score 15 goals for them, obviously because they sold Arnautovic. Although Zirkzee was really good in both boxes with his header, with his control as well, but they need somebody who can convert the chances they create. I mentioned Doye is a good surprise. They signed Carson from AZ Alkmaar. He's a good winger, 35 goals in 89 appearances for the Dutch side. They are ninth for shots in Serie A, Bologna. They had more shots than Milan in the first game and the same number of shots as Juventus in the second game. And I think this is a winnable one for them. They might win 2-0. I'm going to go for both to score no. I think Bologna win 2-0 probably is on the card, but both to score no, I like it more. That pays too.
Okay, Bologna to win is 1.76 if someone wants to back it, or perhaps winning without conceding. Next game is Udinese Frosinone, and we have here one of the biggest surprises of these two match days. Frosinone, I'm talking about them because they beat Atalanta 2-1 before they were able to take the lead against Napoli. So great start for Frosinone. We cannot say the same for Udinese. Danny, only 1 point.
The thing with Frosinone is that they start games really well, really intensively. I think they are one of the fittest teams at the moment because, yeah, they can really impose the rhythm at the beginning. Against Napoli, obviously the difference in quality and maybe a little bit of naivety from Frosinone, they got unpicked easily at the back, but they learned quickly. And a week after, they were much more prepared against Atalanta. High press, high intensity. I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that they score goals so early. It's a team that is still finding his shape, is still finding his best formation. We saw the debut of Berrenchea on loan from Juventus. That's a good addition. Chedira up front, who scored over 20 goals for Bari last season in Serie B. The Moroccan was good, very good at holding the ball. So they got different options there. It is a young side. They're going to commit errors. But, you know, everyone thinks that they're going to go down in a flash. Well, it might be they put up a fight. I think overall, the quality of Serie A has gone worse. Serie A has lost a lot of quality players over this summer. They sign a few, and few promising young players that they still need time to adapt. That things that even a team that gets promoted from Serie B like Frosinone, changing 10, 12 players from the squad that won the Serie B, might have a chance, if is of course well managed. Udinese got a point at Salerno, but things look a little bit bleak for them because they sold the centre forward to Everton, Beto. They're still without Delofeo, who's injured. The question mark, who's going to score? Against Salernitana, they produced a little bit more. Ochoa made a couple of saves, took the lead in the second half, then sat back and conceded. It's going to be another chance for Lucca, the enormous, gigantic Italian striker that many compare to Ibrahimovic, had a spell at Ajax, came back. Let's see how he performs. Look, against Salernitana, they show some signs of improvement, a little bit more intensity. They conceded in 5 of the last 6 home games, Udinese, going back also to last season, winless in 6 games in Serie A. This could be a draw, I think, potentially, but I like the Asian handicap for Frosinone plus 0.75, 187, which means if Udinese wins by only a goal margin, you get half your money back. More than a goal margin win for Udinese, you lose, but any other result, you win 187.
Well, Udinese is very favorite. The odds are 1.8. So if you go for a draw, for instance, the odds are very high, 3.9. The very interesting game on Saturday. We have Atalanta, Monza, both teams with 3 points, but at 1 point for Atalanta, then in that defeat against Frosinone, we saw on the pitch Zapata, Muriel, Scamacca, De Catelare. So they have a lot of manpower, and Monza were able to bounce back after the defeat against Inter with a brace scored by Colpani against Empoli.
Yes, Atalanta against Frosinone, they were very slow off the mark. It looked like they haven't prepared the game really well. They were a bit pedestrian, got caught in possession, almost like they didn't know, they didn't watch the game of Frosinone against Napoli. Frosinone starts game quickly. And yes, Atalanta looked laborious in the end. They had the ball a lot, had chances, but I felt only when they introduced the players you mentioned before and the Catelare with his creativity, they really looked a little bit more threatening. Let's see if Gasperini puts the Catelare from the first minute. I think they do need somebody midfield with a bit more creativity, with a bit more spark. Their midfield with Deron, with Ederson, sometimes it looks a little bit static, and Koop Miners is not in great form at the moment. Normally, these two sides are very entertaining. Atalanta have an habit of conceding goals at home. They conceded in the last 7 home games, keeping only 4 clean sheets since last season. And this is going to be the first home game for Atalanta, where 2 away games this season. So far, Monza at the weekend, they were good. Palladino made some tactical tweaks from the defeat at San Siro, put Churria on the left this time, giving Birindelli more chances to play on the right. So obviously the wing-backs pushed on a lot, and Colpani was given more chances to go forward and score 2 goals. 5th for shots, Monza, 7th for ball possession so far in Serie A. So, the numbers are similar to the ones from last season. 13 out of the last 19 games played at Bergamo Stadio Azzurro d'Italia have been both to score. So normally this is a bets the land. You can go for both to score. I'm going to go for over 2.5 goals here, 179.
And the biggest game, I would say, in this match day is Napoli-Lazio on Saturday evening. Remember that last season, Lazio was able to hit Napoli, and they won at the Maradona. But this season, they've started very slow as that they have 0 points with an easy schedule. They lost to Genoa, they lost to Lecce, and it's not a good idea going to Napoli, especially, Danny, because apart from the victories, they are scoring. Osimhen is in the score sheet. Kvaratskhelia is back. So we are seeing a dangerous Napoli, of course, even with the change of manager.
They collected the 15 win at home in the last 20 games, if you go back to last season, Napoli. And against Sassuolo, as I mentioned earlier, it was ever so easy. Napoli kept the ball well. They're playing slightly more direct football under Rudi Garcia. There aren't too many passes in midfield, and they try to hit Osimhen quickly, straight away, which has produced more chances. They are first for shots, Napoli. And in the second half, with the introduction of Kvaratskhelia, they looked in control. He gave the assist to Di Lorenzo. Also missed a penalty. As I said, the defeat was never in doubt. But now, this is a real test for Napoli, because they're going to play against a side that not only finished second last season and is going to play in the Champions League, but also against a side that, when he's in possession, can move the ball better than Frosinone and Sassuolo. So Napoli will have to go through spells of the game when they haven't got the ball. They will have to chase it, and then obviously it's going to be a test of their defensive cohesiveness and how drilled they are. And perhaps let's see how much they're going to miss Kim Min-jae this season. Last season, that game in March when Lazio won 1-0 thanks to a Vecino goal was a masterstroke, a tactical masterstroke from Sarri, who shut down the middle channel for Napoli really well, man-marked Lobotka, only left space on the flank, and then Lazio was really good, was at moving the ball with patience, tiring Napoli out, and then be clinical and hit them when it counted. It was really fascinating to see Lazio winning that game. Let's see if they can repeat it. And of course, if Napoli have learned the lesson. I think Lazio have been disappointing, as well as Roma so far this season. But we need also to consider that luck has not been on their side. If we go back to Lecce, when the game was still 1-0, 85th minute, Immobile hit the bar. Then 2 minutes after, they're 2-1 down because Lecce scores in 90 seconds. Against Genoa, slow start, a mistake from Provedel, and Retegui scores, but should have had a penalty in the first half on Zaccagni. Second half, again hitting the bar with Immobile. If you look at the expected goals, this should be 2.16 higher than what the only goal that they score, and that's the difference between having 3 points on the table, having 2, or having 0, basically. I think something better is going to come for Lazio, but we need to wait and see what kind of approach, what kind of contribution the new signings do and give. Kamada, Rovella, who I haven't seen as well, Isaacsen, Castellanos, soon they're going to be joined by Guendouzi probably. They might need a new defender, so I think it's still a big work in progress. But I don't think Lazio are going to be as bad as we've seen recently. Of course, losing Milinkovic-Savic has been a big blow because, the Serbian was physically imposing, but also able to sort situations with his technique, with his physiques. Sometimes he masked some of the deficiencies that they had going forward. Maybe Napoli is going to win this one, but if they are, I can't imagine being a high-scoring game. I'm going to go for a Lazio Asian handicap +1, 182, considering that if Napoli wins by 2 goals margins or more, you lose your stake. But if it's only 1 goal margin the win for Napoli, you get your money back. So I think it's worth it.
Well, Danny somehow trusts Roma teams in this match day. Both Roma and Lazio having tough games against Milan and Napoli. Great game, this one. Napoli-Lazio also is a good game. The next one on Sunday, we have Inter-Fiorentina with Inter 6 points. You mentioned, Danny, that Lautaro is a player on strikes and he's been scoring in both games. So perhaps it's also good to back the Argentinian to score against Fiorentina. Also interesting, Fiorentina with 4 points, but we have to mention that they can put their focus, or they might put their focus in the conference. They have to play against Rapid on Thursday, so let's see how this game affects to the game in San Siro.
This is a big thing at the moment because Fiorentina are the only side playing midweek games in Italy. They lost against Rapid Vienna in the first game. They weren't very good there, and they need a good performance at home on Thursday. And then on Sunday afternoon, they travel to Milan. So let's see. I think they're going to make a lot of changes, but probably they're going to put more focus on the Conference League. They were finalists last season. Let's talk about Inter. They were excellent in the first half against Cagliari, started strong, as it often happens to Inter. Recently, they start the games well. They really imposed themselves from the beginning, found a lot of space down the flanks, a very good performance from Di Marco. Denzel Dumfries seems to have been, almost like a new player. He's really good with his passing, with his shooting, scored a goal, 1 goal, an assist, and of course another goal from Lautaro, streaky strikers. Normally when he scores, he goes on a run of 2-3 games scoring. Last season scored twice in the final of Coppa Italia against Fiorentina. So if you want to bet on him, just go and check. I think it pays around even money. And a good contribution as well from Thuram, who still hasn't had a shots on target or a shots off target this season. I don't think he's a proper centre forward, but he's working really hard and he's creating the spaces for his teammates. I'm really curious to see how Thuram will fare against stronger defense where you do need a physical presence. But so far, so good. And the good news for Inter is that we really haven't seen Sommer, the new goalkeeper, doing a difficult save. The defense has kept 2 clean sheets. De Vrij is having good games. Çalhanoğlu in the holding midfielder position looks very accomplished. And this week they've signed Pavard from Bayern Munich, which maybe gonna go on the bench. As I said, normally Inter play strongly. Always scored Fiorentina in the last 5 games against Inter. They scored at San Siro, they won, scored in the Coppa Italia games. Last year they lost 8 away games though. The question with Fiorentina is, have they learned how to manage situations during games, or are they always going to go full throttle, attack. That's really important. But I think Fiorentina will go at it at Inter. Inter probably start strongly. It could be above to score here. I'm going to go for another angle here. I think it's going to be two teams that are going to attack. Over 9.5 corners, 206. So 10 corners or more in the game at San Siro, and you win 206.
The goals market also looks promising, I think, in this Inter-Fiorentina. I wouldn't go for goals in the next one. We have Torino, Genoa only with 1 point. Torino lost to Milan 4-1, drew with Cagliari. Genoa, on the other hand, with 3 points after beating Lazio, surprisingly, with Retegui, one of the players that we are very happy to see in Serie A, scoring the winner.
And someone criticized Mancini for calling him up. I mean, he's good. He's a good striker. I know he's Argentinian born and he's got Italian passport. But yeah, he's a poacher, and he scored a poacher goal for Genoa, who gave them the win. Perhaps not fully deserved. Probably a draw would have been fairer, but they seem sturdier. They seem to put a stronger challenge against Lazio, able to capitalize mistakes. It's been a tough start for Genoa. They're bottom for shots, only 9 shots on target, off target, scored 2 goals, conceded 4 against Fiorentina. Now they travel to Torino, who got problems scoring goals. Sanabria, their top scorer of last season, probably is going to miss this one because he's injured. They are on the market for another center forward. They're thinking about signing Origi, but the difference in quality against Milan was stark. The back three got exposed a lot. Pershurs against Theo and Leao really suffered. The 2 penalties they were given against are very generous, but I think they would have lost anyway. They got a nice midfield. Torino, probably we're going to see Tamese playing more next to the striker, so adding a little bit more quality there, which is going to make them more sturdier, more difficult to beat. Last season, Torino never scored more than 2 goals in any time, in any game. Only scored 15 goals at home last season, Torino, so very low-scoring games. The first game was 0-0, and they almost lost it if it wasn't for Milinkovic-Savic making a couple of good saves. Yeah, I'm not going to see, I don't think there are going to be too many goals. I'm going to go for under 0.75 goals in the first half. 225 pays really well. If there's only 1 goal in the first half, you lose half a stake. If the first half ends 0-0, you win 225, you more than double your stake.
I can understand why you don't think there will be a lot of goals in this. Torino, Genoa, and the next game we have Empoli, Juve, with kind of good odds, I would say, to back Juventus to win is 1.7, and they thrashed Udinese away in the first match day this season, but the other hand was the draw against Bologna with Vlahovic rescuing 1 point, Danny, yes. But Empoli looks very bad. Also another team without scoring a single goal, so I guess we should trust Juve to win in the Castellani.
1 step forward and 2 steps backwards for Juventus. Really well against Udinese. People got carried away. The Magnanelli effect, the assistant coach, champagne Juventus. He only took an organized team with a good ideas and a good system like Bologna to show that Juventus haven't really improved that much. The problem with Juve is the lack of quality in midfield. I think Locatelli plays out of position. He's not a playmaker. He's really struggling. His rhythm is too pedestrian. Next to him, Fagioli is too imprecise. And Rabiot has got a lot of energy, but needs somebody to pass him the ball and somebody to play with. And then when you look at the 2 up front, Vlahovic is a good finisher. He scored a good goal, had another one disallowed, 2 in 2. You cannot really say that he has had a bad start of the season, but he doesn't help the midfield enough for a team that needs so much from the striker to come across and, to help build the play. And with Chiesa, they don't seem to be forming a good partnership, at least not last weekend. Chiesa almost played on his own and stayed very, very wide on the left. So the reaction of Juventus, it's often more of nerves than style of play. So they do manage to get back into the game because they got that hunger and that desire. But really, if you look at the way they played, Bologna were much better. Do they have an identity? Do they have an ideal starting 11? Probably not. Weah were disappointed against Bologna. Cambiasso were disappointed. So really, yes, mixed feelings. Empoli, at the moment, no goals so far. A bit unlucky. Hit the bar twice against Verona. and against Monza. I think they got goal scorers. Biasi, Caputo, Cambiaghi, Baldanzi. They have quality players, but they will always concede, I think. Last year, when Viviano was in goal, the Spurs goalkeeper, they only kept 7 clean sheets, and Viviano was amazing. Now, Caprile got injured, the first goalkeeper. They're going to play with the second goalkeeper, Perisan. So, you know, I see them maybe conceding a couple of goals here. 14 goals in the last 3 games between these two sides. Last year, Empoli may won 4-1, but that was the night when Juventus knew they got deducted point once again. So maybe they were psychologically affected by that. I think they're going to be goals in this one. Let's not forget the last 10 games where Juventus won them against struggling sides, always 2-0. So it could be a win 2-0 for Juve. I'm going to stick my neck here over 2.5 goals, 198.
Well, we are not seeing a lot of goals actually in the first 2 games in Serie A.
No.
There are 3 teams without scoring goals, and only 5 teams, Roma, Fiorentina, Frosinone, Lecce, and Salernitana, saw both games with both teams to score. So it's not a really high percentage, I have to say.
Not yet, but things might change.
Well, in the last seasons, actually, we are seeing a lot of goals in Serie A. So let's see if Juve can win at the Castellani. And the last game, we have Lecce Salernitana, actually 2 teams where we saw in both games, both teams to score, good surprises in this start of the season, both teams from the south of Italy, Dani, and without a defeat, Salernitana with 2 points, getting points against Udinese and Roma. Lecce 4 points, getting points from Fiorentina and beating Lazio. A great start for both ends.
Big surprise for Lecce. They never give up. You know, twice came back against top sides. Twice they scored 2 goals in the second half against Lazio and against Fiorentina. Credit to the manager D'Aversa for wanting them to play on the front foot. They don't mind not having the ball, same as last season. They've had some good players, the likes of Anquist, Rafia, looks really good player, is a Juventus product as well, and Krstovic scored his first goal against Fiorentina. Look, they don't keep the ball particularly well. I think in the first half they were a little bit lucky against Fiorentina. Fiorentina could have scored another goal and then probably they would have won the game, but they are effective and they look fit, which is really important. It's a young side, they run a lot, they won't give up easily. Salernitana, a bit of like last season, is another draw. So that was the 17th draw, if you include the 15 of last season. And with Salernitana, often is sliding doors. You know, things can go horribly wrong. They concede shots. Ochoa has to make a couple of saves, but then they manage to rescue themselves. Sometimes they win in lucky circumstances. They score good goals. But yes, with Salernitana, you never know what you're going to get. That's why they become the master of draw a little bit. They are never that strong to put teams away easily. And sometimes, yes, they still got the quality up front to rescue something, even in desperate situation. Expected goals for Salernitana so far, 0.92. They scored 3. That tells you, they are overperforming. Same as last season, really. Only won 2 away games last season, conceding 36 goals. I think at the moment, these two sides, despite scoring, I don't think they got a lot of goals in them, to be fair. So it could be an under 2.5 goals. I like the double chance X2, 192. I think probably it's going to be a draw. But if you go for 1X, it pays less. So I'm going to go for X2, Salernitana or draw, 192.
Okay, Danny, this is the last game before we go into the international break. Tell me your best bet for this match day.
For me, it's a Roma Milan on Friday. Over 1.5 goals, 145.
It goes straight away to our international ACCA and your Italian ACCA.
Sassuolo Verona, double chance, 1x. Napoli Lazio, over 1.5 goals. Juventus to score the first goal at Empoli. And Lecce Salernitana, first half, a double chance, x2. The total odds for this one are 4-12.
Thank you, Danny. We've had a lot of surprises in the first 2 match days in Serie A. Let's try again. Let's keep enjoying Italian football. And of course, keep telling me your comments and your tips for this match day, Danny. And of course, don't forget, press the like and subscribe. See you, Danny. Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao.